Yeah, so I graduated in August 2019 and then moved into London straight away, August, September, just in time to get like a nice bar job and sort of support myself whilst I was going to auditions during the day. And then, of course, suddenly everything just comes into play and the world comes tumbling down around us, and I'm still here. But I love the city, so I don't mind that much, really. My first memory of acting is such a cliche. I was 5 years old and I went to a summer camp that was themed with Harry Potter, and I was the youngest person there by so many years. And they sort of took me along because I was very precocious and I was really annoying, and they're like, fine, like, let's get her out the house and take her to this camp. And there was a play section. And I loved Harry Potter, and I was like, let me write it. I was 5, I was literally 5 years old. And I sort of got incredibly involved, and I starred as Hermione Granger, and I learnt an entire page of Latin out of a random book of Latin that I found in a library. And it made no sense, but I recited it to the audience as if it was like the crowning line of the play. It was probably nonsense looking back on it. But because of that, we won extra points for our house, and we won the house cup, and everyone like came around and cheered me, and I got to hold the cup, and like all the audience clapped, and I remembered in that moment, like, ooh, I like doing this, and then I literally never stopped. It's such a cliche. It was like a moment from a movie, but I really haven't stopped since then. It's good. It's probably remembered very differently by the adults, but as a kid it was like amazing. And I remember all the other kids were like, yeah, then I got this cup and I was like, oh, I love being on stage. And ever since then I've adored it, and I really made my mind up to become an actor when I was 10, and I went to see Dame Judi Dench in a play. She was playing Titania in Midsummer Night's Dream. And I was on the front row, and it was a gift from my aunt to go see it. And it was like I went into this world for the 3 hours or whatever the play was. It was like nothing else could happen, and I've never forgotten that performance. I've always wanted to meet her so I could be like, you did this to me, it was your fault. I could have been a lawyer. Now I'm obsessed with Shakespeare because of you. So yeah, no one could really turn me off it, to be honest. They tried. No one could turn me off it. They really tried, and I'm still here. So, well, lockdown limited a bit, but I found voice acting, which I'd never thought of doing. I had a really mean teacher at drama school tell me I would never do it, and I really remember leaving her office and crying in the middle of Oval in London. Like crying on the street, like, I'll never be a voice actor. And then I drive past it every day now, and I'm like, ha 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 ha. So I've been voice acting. I've just finished this week a audiobook, which is a compilation of poems for Hypatia Trust, and I'm so lucky to have got it. It's pure luck through tweeting people obnoxiously all the time, and then they've given me this opportunity, and I'm so grateful. It's hard to say it on an email, isn't it? Like, you don't realise what this means to me. It gets a bit stalkery after a while. You get a couple too many emails and you're like, enough. So, well, theatres are shut, and I miss them more than anything. Like, there's nothing to compare to sitting in an audience and the lights going down and you looking at a stage and the anticipation that's in a room. I miss it so much, and opportunities are scarce. And I'm also worried that coming out of this, no theatres will take a risk with someone that isn't known or doesn't have connections. I don't have anybody I know in the industry. I don't have money to throw into it. I don't have, 100,000 Instagram following. I don't have any of that. And I worry that theatres after this will not take a risk on anybody. Everyone will have to already be stars or have connections, because they're so desperate for money, because there's been so little support. And it's heartbreaking, because I know so many other people that are just so brilliant and won't get their chance because there's no money for it. And I don't know, it's heartbreaking, but I think then actors are very tenacious. You can't really stop them from making stuff. Give them a park and a script and they'll kind of go wild no matter what. So, I don't know. They have to have hope. A lot of them are writing. A lot of them are trying to create their own stuff. Some of them are blessed and they've managed to get an amazing role. And honestly, I couldn't be happier for seeing people get stuff. Like, it's such a relief every time. I'm like, yes, you deserve that. Yes, you deserve that. But there's a fear, I think, that's low-lying in the industry at the moment, of a lot of people thinking, what's going to happen next? What are we going to create? And what can we do to capture people's attentions again? There's so much stress and anxiety. What do you put on? Do you put on something that reflects that, or do you put on something that cheers people up, but then is like not necessarily the right thing to put on at the time? And so I think everyone, I don't know, everyone's stressed, everyone's hopeful. It's hard to knock people off their love of theatre. I think it's it's a disease. Once you catch it, it's stuck with you. Well, it's not. I'm not going to pretend like it's the kindest industry in the world. The things people expect of you. It's very difficult to turn up as yourself and not be somebody else all the time. And they say they want something genuine, and then you turn up genuine, and they go genuine but thinner. Like, oh, okay. So it's a lot of struggles. To be honest, exercising is really hard for me. I had to learn how to walk again 3 years ago. I've had problems with my feet since I was a kid, which often went unremarked because you can't tell when you look at me. You don't look at somebody like me and go, oh, they're in pain, or they have, struggles moving. And I really couldn't walk very well as a kid. And then just before drama school, 2 days before my 19th birthday, I had my right foot completely reconstructed. And the operation went very badly wrong. And we discovered afterwards that I'm immune to opiate-based pain relief. But we only found that out after I'd had it done. So the next few days were not very pleasant at all. And the NHS is so stretched, they just didn't have anyone that could check on me all the time. And my parents, you have to leave go of any, I don't know, I had to humble myself because my mum had to care for me 24/7. And at 19, going back to being like put in the bath by your mum and, help to the bathroom, it's not the best for your ego. And then I'd been accepted to drama school, and I had that coming up in a couple months, and September was approaching, and I still couldn't walk, and I just still couldn't stand on it, and I really forced myself. And oddly, the thing that really helped was I made myself get up and put my makeup on and do my hair, even though I was going to sit in bed all day. I did all of that. And then I was like, I've got to walk. And we started slowly going down the street, slowly going up and down stairs. And 2 weeks before I went to drama school, I was on my feet again. And my parents were so stressed, bless them. And then I went from that to leaving home and going to a course that was almost entirely physical. And it's very hard to explain then when you turn up looking sort of like a normal person that looks like they could run, to being like, oh no, 2 weeks ago I was in a wheelchair. Like, people, you can't remember that all the time. You don't look at someone and see that. You see the person that's in front of you, not what they've experienced. And it was very difficult to adapt and to feel secure. And then I was slowly starting to feel like I can do this. And 2 weeks in, by complete accident, bless his soul, a boy in my class jumped on it and landed on my foot. And it just shattered. It was so badly broken. And I was in shock when it happened. And I literally just went, excuse me. And I left the class and sat down outside. And my teacher had to drive his car into the university grounds and pick me up and take me back to halls because I couldn't move. And so that was the first 2 weeks of drama school. And now here I am. I'm so stubborn. You couldn't stop me. Like, I probably should have said I'll come next year, but I just could not wait. Like, I am a bit stubborn in the sense that if you say you can't do something, no, I'm going to do it. Well, my stubbornness from my mother, and I have to thank her for it, but oh my gosh, do we row. Bless her. I wouldn't change her for it though. But I've always felt like there were never enough hours in the day growing up. I did crazy hours at school, and I was on an all-rounder scholarship to a private school, and I couldn't drop below a B in any subject if I wanted to keep the scholarship, and my parents could not afford it if I didn't. So it was pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of moment. I hate that phrase. It's so related to like Republicans now. I don't want anything to do with that. But it was the case. It was like, you made the decision to come here. If you want to stay, you've got to do that for yourself. And I respect independence in that level, I think. I've got so lazy during lockdown though. I feel like I'm painting a very nice picture of myself, and it is not true. I eat pasta in bed like the rest of us. Well, you wouldn't guess it, but I'm actually quite introverted. I have a very extroverted family, so they've made me be extroverted my whole life, but I need time on my own. I'm one of those people that I go to the party and then I French exit at 11:30 without telling anybody. I'm like, nobody will know. And I get to sit home, and I love just watching film and TV and binging things, and getting a bit obsessive of stuff I see online and like looking it up. So I'm perfectly happy to just sit back and do very little. Probably a bit more happy than I should be. I get kicks of it, and they usually result in me telling myself I should go for a run. And as we've established, I'm not very good at running. And so I get about 10 minutes into it, and I'm like, why on earth did I ever think this was a good idea? And I walk the rest of the way playing Pokemon Go, and then go back home, and I'm like, well, that's done for the week. Like, get back into bed. So I did Phantom of the Opera when I was 15. I played Christine, and my school put a big production on, and we had a rehearsal on Halloween, and it was a really long one, and we were there honestly till like 11:30 at night. And I got all of the cast on a group text message. This was back 2012, and I was like, "Hi guys, let's all dress up in full costume because it's Halloween and they can't stop us." And I didn't tell any of the teachers, and I really should have, because there were like 50 of us in full Halloween costume, and it was meant to be a really big rehearsal. And I turned up first as the only person fully dressed in a costume, and my teacher was like, "What are you doing? You silly child, you've distracted from the whole process." And I was like, I've really misjudged this. I thought he'd really like it. And then he opened the door to the rehearsal room, and it was the whole cast completely dressed. Everyone went all out, like banana suits, Batman, everything you can imagine was in this room. And he stopped and turned to me and was like, "I apologize. We're just going to make the best of it." And that evening was the funniest evening of my life. To do like a full production of Phantom of the Opera, but like, the manager of the theatre is dressed as Batman. And like you turn and you're singing opera to a rabbit. It's very funny. So that was a wonderful day. I had such a lovely time. Made some really good friends with that show. And then, I don't know. We had near the end of drama school, we did a show that was a new writing piece of theatre that we performed at Hoxton Hall, and it was quite a heavy subject. It was post-apocalyptic, and everyone was sort of a bit like, okay, let's do it again, go through these heavy emotions. And our director said, how about we do a whole run and we do the whole thing as a musical, but you don't get to rehearse, like just do it. And so on the spot we had to improvise a whole musical of the full show. And it was incredible. One of the best things I've ever seen. I was like, we didn't record this is so silly. And then halfway through she'd switch the stars, and she'd be like, okay, now do it as a soap opera, and we do the rest of the show as a soap opera. Relax, honest to God. I never relaxed. And in some ways this year has really taught me to, because I've had no choice but to not do something sometimes. But we're so told that you have to be perfect in every level, and that I should have achieved everything by 23. I'm 23. Like, what? It's stupid. And it's very difficult not to compare yourself. And I was so stressed all the time about everything. And then I work in a bar, and the same people that work with me, some of them never did that, and we're in the same place. And to be honest, they had a bit more fun. So I'd say, have a bit more fun. Just calm down. You know, like, it's not that big a deal sometimes. The grades don't really matter. They don't. I really thought they did. Truly, they still get me. Sometimes I'm like, ooh, I remember that teacher. But